Thank you. Thank you, TME. Did you guys know that early Christians grew through just storytelling and they didn't have the New Testament? Meaning the whole part of the Bible that is about Jesus did not exist for like 70, 80 years. Can you believe that? I was pretty shocked back then until recently, because I've been listening to this podcast called A Stronger Faith, and it's just a collection of testimonials, like with 2-3 hours long of people sharing how they encounter God. And I felt like that must be how Christianity grew, and that must be how people started following Christ. And through this, listening to the podcast, and I found myself, my faith grew also. And for the first time, I've been praying for this, that I actually desire to read the Bible. It used to be such a chore, but when your faith really increased and you really think that this actually happened, you want to know, like, how did it happen? Like, what was, you want to imagine how it was like back in the day. So today I want to share with you my own testimony on how I became a Christ follower. Growing up, I was in a pretty confused household because my mom's a Buddhist, and we had like 7 incense burners all around the house. And I was sent to a Catholic school. So you can imagine I was like, going to this Chinese Catholic school and reciting prayers like for the Virgin Mary and like all types of different prayers ever since I was in kindergarten, and I still remember them, but not knowing what it means. So I felt like I knew God a little bit, but I really didn't know God. And I remember my brother asking me, like, what do you think happened? Like, why do you think we're here? And I just thought, I think we're here, like, there'll be something after death, and maybe we might go to heaven and all that. And then he was like, I think there'll be nothing. And that just like stuck with me. And over the years, I've been curious about going to church, and I never really went. No one really invited me until I got to high school. My friend invited me, but then I was quite disappointed. I thought it was just more like people socializing, and I didn't really felt the presence of God. And I didn't have a lot of Christian friends near me, so by the time I got to college, it just started to really felt like it didn't make sense. I felt like maybe all of these is just like stories that got made up. I didn't know the history of the Bible, how it was made, so I just went through life and started wanting to achieve and just perform and do all those things that everybody wants to do. Get a great job, buy a house, and all that stuff, right? And until I met this family of atheists, and they're like the kindest people. And I remember I had a housing situation problem, and they just took me in for a month, and I thought they must be like Christian or something, They're so good. But no, they didn't believe in God. And that was like why I really felt like, oh, maybe you don't have to believe in God to be a good person. And maybe, that actually really put me to this whole other spectrum, but something just didn't sit right with me, that why are we here? I felt like that question was never answered. But, I remember reading this book later on, and, the screw tape letter. The devil, if the devil cannot get you to do something bad, it would distract you. So I was so distracted in life, and that question would pop up, why are we here? Who is God? And I just put that aside. But literally, that is the most important question in your life, don't you think? Like, why are we here? So by the time I was like 26, and I think I achieved a certain level of success, I felt like at the time for like the young Kelly. So I was like, you know what, I have some time now, I'm gonna spend time to really find out what happened. So I went to church. I got invited by a friend who, they're really successful people, really smart, went to MIT, and I just thought, okay, like they believe, so there must be something. So I started going. I went to church for 2 years. I joined Bible study. I went to Christianity 101. I would say why I believe must have been that, maybe. Because I learned that the Bible, you can see the Dead Sea Scroll, like, you know that it's so much history in there, and Jesus fulfilled 300 plus of these prophecies from the Old Testament. So like, what are the odds in that? And a lot of these people would go away. And if you read the New Testament for real, it's just eyewitnesses account. If you don't see it as a magic book, you know that it reads like a history book almost, some parts of it. But I still did not believe. I bet my entire Bible study group was praying for me at the time. And until I was like, you know what, God, I really need to see something, you know, like, you know, you really have to. And then until one day, my friend from college was from another, like, there's a group from a mission trip. They're really looking for a seeker to go that would be ready to go travel within a week to go to South Africa. And like, you're the only person that I could thought of that would do this. And then, you know, I was like, yeah, I think I'll do it. I'll get unpaid leave. And my boss was Christian at the time, and then I would be able to go. And I thought, okay, this is it. Like, I'm gonna encounter God in Africa. I'm gonna have this cool story, and I'm gonna believe. I'm gonna get something. But then actually, the weekend before I went to church, and like, somehow I went by myself this time. And you know, they always ask you to go to the altar. Somehow that day, God was like, why? What are you waiting for? Like, I've been chasing you all this time. And I realized that believing is not about courage. It's about commitment. I was just afraid to commit. It's like, I'm comparing this to my marriage. Before getting married, I was trying to figure out, like, if I want to commit. I don't know how it's gonna go. Like, I was afraid that I would have to give up so much. And then, so I just did that right before the trip. And that reminded me of this saying, blessed are those that believe without seeing. And when I went to Africa, I just see God everywhere. And I have such a longer testimonial than this, but maybe I'll do a part 2. Thank you.